As someone that has been boots on the ground with this franchise from day one, March 2016, I've seen this universe grow and mature over the past, at this point, it's nearly 7 years now. I lived through Update 1.3 in the OG game with those one-tap shotgunners. I was there when the New York City Dark Zone was Rogue 1.0. I witnessed Matt Higbee going rogue on State of the Game, and I watched Julian Garrity announce that The Division 2 was in the works. And this list goes on and on, all the way up to and including The Division 2, and of course up to the present. We've seen The Division progress and falter, make solid additions, and then turn right around and make boneheaded errors. And we could debate the gameplay changes until we are blue in the face, but at least for me, and I know I'm not alone in this one, there is one sizable piece to this franchise that is still missing and has been for some time. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is LtBuzzLitebeer, and first off, I hope you had a safe, restful, and enjoyable holiday break. Today, we are back and talking about the Division franchise, and I don't see many people discussing this topic, but you know me, I speak to what moves me, and this topic truly does. It's been a hell of a year for the channel. Please remember to smash that sub button and ring the bell to receive all my future upload notifications. While you're at it, set your alerts to receive all. Really important for that one, or you could miss my latest YouTube upload. Lots to discuss today, so let's dive right in. Now, everything I'm about to lay out in today's video is so closely intertwined. Each idea is chained to the next, so when one is broken, the others break as well. And we need to first touch on the state of the community. You, the viewers, the gamers, fall into this group. People tweeting, posting on Reddit, Facebook, whatever. The gamers that are voicing their opinions, positive, negative, even toxic about this franchise. Now, how many of you have seen this statement? This community is so toxic, it didn't used to be this way, y'all are crazy, etc. This general feeling that the community has gradually taken a nosedive into the ground from the first game to the second. That somehow the overall Division community is now nastier, more emboldened to act a fool both in game and all over social media. And since we discussed the community, you, the gamers, we next need to flip the script and talk about the state of the game. Now, this is a broad concept that kind of incorporates ideas like technical state of the Division 1 and 2, content, interaction with the game, enjoyment while playing the game, and even bug fixes. You know, this list could go on and on. If you think back to the OG Division game, and I can say this with 100% certainty, but at launch, Division 1 was certainly not a bug-free, incredibly fleshed out gaming experience. We didn't have things like incursions, underground, survival, last stand, skirmish, optimization, West Side Piers, resistance, and everything else that team ended up bringing to the game. It took time, a lot of time. There were iterations, changes, experiments, intense growing pains, hell, even 3 ETFs. Point being, this game looked incredible at launch. The vibe and atmosphere of NYC were unmatched, but the details, the icing on the cake, it wasn't there. Division 2 was touted as a Division game where the dev team had learned from their mistakes in making Division 1 and had attempted to improve on those errors. Yeah, the story was more complete, it was more fleshed out, but we also saw many failed attempts to increase the gameplay loop, a la Kinley College, classified missions, the Pentagon, DARPA Labs, Coney Island, 3 separate and small DZs. I mean, time, assets, and resources were truly lost on all of these areas. And somewhere in there, we also got successes like Woney, Keener, and to some, manhunts. I mean, you know the list for the Division 2. Anyway, TLDR version here, Div 2 had more horsepower but was less fun than the Division 1. And everything I've kind of spelled out for you, this whole preamble brings me to the topic for today, the real meat and potatoes for this discussion, community. And this isn't going to be focused in on what many of you think it will be. I personally don't think the Division community, you the gamers, are more toxic now than were back in the days of the Division 1. I mean, do you remember the days of VoIP and the OG Dark Zone? Do you remember the fire posted in the State of the Game chat windows during those old live streams? I don't think any of this has ever changed. Now, what I do think is that as the Division kind of passed its penultimate moment when Woney dropped, the community has been neglected, ignored, and forgotten. And this has led to the community being viewed as toxic and vengeful because now they are extremely skeptical and lash out when problems occur. Quick question here for you. Do you think Div 1 had any less problems than Div 2? I mean, easy answer on this one. Absolutely not. Div 1 was technically all over the place. Broken weapons, busted gear sets, the list goes on and on. Then throw in monthly content drops, adding in even more layers of complexity, and with it, even more issues. But through it all, starting day one, was a calm dev squad that actually took the time to communicate with the player base. It was a two-way street. They didn't ignore the tough ones, but instead took the time to at least give answers even when met with toxicity. Seeing Hamish and Yannick on the weekly State of the Game streams was something we actually look forward to. They answered what they could, they teased upcoming changes, they took questions from chat. It was dialogue. An idea continued by Petter, Matt Shacha, Amper, and Johan. We used to get weekly gameplay streams with Ella. Guests on State of the Game regularly included Thylander, Drew, Nikki, Trick, Terry, and Keith. Point being, there was a crew that enjoyed the craft. They enjoyed talking about the game and ultimately enjoyed chatting and carrying on a dialogue. Somewhere in 2020, this dedication to establishing two-way communication started to erode. State of the Game streams continued, but were severely limited in content and production value. Answers to questions slowed down and even ceased. It began to turn more towards a stance of our way or the highway. We saw the huge damage glitch ban wave, a decision I never agreed with. Massive Ubisoft showed zero ability to see any shades of gray, and I believe it hurt the overall health of the gamer base. Late 2020 into 2021, the once strong and willing comms team started to disappear. Most moved on to different companies, while the others were moved to different positions or just reassigned to new projects. State of the Game streams ceased, gameplay streams have completely stopped, communication dried up and was replaced with basic blast via the main Division game account. Few answers are now given, and when they are, they either come from someone not on the comms team proper or are delivered in a method that looks shady and attempted at misdirection. Community and this idea of a two-way discourse was once the backbone of the Division franchise. There was a sense of accomplishment and pride and teamwork between the studio and the players. Just speaking off script here, but to this day, and not that I was truly expecting one, anyways, to this day, I've never seen an attempt by the comm dev team, Massive, Ubisoft, basically anyone on that side to openly come out and apologize for ghosting a very dedicated and hardcore Division fan base for what was essentially the better part of a year. We hit late 2020 with Season 4, and then it was just like they turned off all lines of communication. They finally came out with this odd printed statement about how some of us guessed, I'm using air quotes here, guessed that the Fei Lao manhunt was the end of the Division 2, but really nothing meaningful has been sent out. You see, respect was earned during those early days of the Division 1. That initial comms crew went through fire. They weren't always loved. They got their share of negativity. I don't know. Looking back on it all, maybe we were all a part of something special there. Having that level of constant communication shouldn't be the exception. It should be the norm. They were there, not always with an answer or the answer we wanted, but at least they were there. And this kind of brings me back to that first idea presented in this commentary on community. The players being more toxic now than back in the days of the original Division game, a point I still disagree with. What I do think is that player concerns now, attempts to talk out their grievances, are met with just absolute silence. I once got to interview Rebecca Ford at Digital Extremes, the makers of Warframe, and her answer to communicating with toxic community members was truly refreshing. You see, the DE Comms team saw those comments, even those filled with anger and disappointment, as opportunities to create a two-way dialogue. These were players with grievances against the game, but with that lashing out via comments, they were giving the comms team a chance to talk it out and try to make things right. Toxic or angry comments were seen as opportunities, not as tasks that needed deleting. Quite different from what we see with the Division community, where these kind of comments are ignored or even worse, responded to with snarky tones or indifference. If you want to help curb the toxicity and help negate this view that the Division community is toxic AF, you have to first communicate with them, a skill our current Division comms team seems unwilling to engage in. A bit of a long one here, inspired overall by a recent developer interview between Petter and Yannick, where Yannick speaks about his passion for community. If you want to watch that video, I will of course include a link in the video description and pinned comments below. I had a ton of thoughts pouring all out at once. I had to cut out bits, shorten, compress. Anyway, I hope the commentary kind of encapsulates the feelings of the community and how we were once seen as equals and partners and are now just seen as tasks. As always, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below. Remember to smash that sub button and ring the bell to stay up to date on all my latest uploads. If you could take a few seconds more to rate and or share this video, it would be greatly appreciated. Remember, you can find and follow me over on Twitch, Twitter, and of course in my community Discord server. Links to all my socials can be found in the video description and pinned comments below. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.